Hello everyone and welcome to another how-to video with me over the line. At the moment we are in the Nissan GTR3 car, about to go around the Silverstone Grand Prix track, which has been newly released on Raceroom. We're going to be racing this Sunday upcoming, and on the 26th of February for this month for our 90 minutes of Silverstone event, which is a one-off event of LMP2 and GTR3. So we're going to go around the track on board. I'm going to show you what the best lines and braking points are to get good at this track, and fingers crossed it will make you competitive for when the event comes along, whether you're joining this Sunday or for the 90-minute event. So we're going to change now to the onboard camera, and if I can get it right before we go across the line, that'll be awesome. There we are. Right, okay, so we're going to be going slow motion at certain points so I can explain better. Going up to the first corner here, you're going to be looking at the left-hand curbing, and you want to brake right now. So this is the braking point. There isn't really any reference point here other than using this small strip of tarmac. It has the light green runoff area. This is mainly for faster classes. If you're in, say, for example, a Formula car or something, they usually run into that in order to get the corner. Obviously they have more downforce than we do, so therefore they're able to do that. Depending on what GTR3 car you get, the braking performance is going to differ slightly. So say for example if you're in a Corvette, you want to take it just a bit further back. Obviously typically an American car, the brakes aren't exactly excellent, and the Corvette, the old Corvette at least, is a perfect example of that. So just take note of exactly where this camera angle is, because that's the braking point. The Nissan GTR is fairly good on its brakes, but again it's quite heavy, so therefore even if you was, say, for in the McLaren for example, you might want to go a bit further forward than that. But essentially, as a rough guide, in the middle, this is your braking point. You're going to be either in 5th or 4th gear. If you're confident at the corner, you want to stay in 5th. The reason for that is if you go down to 4th, the engine is going to naturally engine brake and you're going to lose speed. If you stay in 5th, you can carry more speed through, but it's a lot harder to perfect. So if you're just starting off and you're trying to get through the corner for your first time, you're just trying to find your feet, I'd recommend going for 4th gear, because it's going to be at the higher end of that. So the engine's going to be revving quite high, and it's going to be at that point that you can take that corner, because it's almost an indicator of what speed you can take, if that makes sense. So for this example, I think we do go down into 4th gear. Yep, there we go. You heard the drop there, so I'll go back if you didn't hear it. So we enter the corner in 5th gear, and at this moment when we hit this apex, that's the change. Down to 4th gear right there, and instantly the engine is almost at the maximum rev capacity that it can take, and that is a good example of how fast that you can take this corner. Right, and then you want to aim, basically you can see all these rubber lines here and here. This I wouldn't recommend taking this line. He looks like he's going off into space or something, but these ones here, the natural flow of the track where the rubber has been laid down by cars gone past, that is the line that you want to follow. And you will know that you're making it good because you should be aiming for this corner here, which is a left-hand corner, and that's a full throttle corner. If you then take that corner full throttle, you've done it correctly. If you go too wide and you're hitting this curbing here upon the exit, you're doing it wrong. That's too much speed. So we're just going to let the car flow. We're going to go back, and then you can watch the natural flow at full speed of how to take this corner. And full throttle through this corner. You want to hug this apex. Now as you come to the exit of this corner, you're going to go to the mid or left right hand side of the track, but what comes up instantly in the distance here is a very sharp right hand corner, almost a 180. So you've got the left hand curbing here, and that's your braking reference. As soon as the first white patch of right curbing on the left hand side appears, braking very heavily from 5th gear down into 2nd. So what you're trying to do is try and get a nice good run or entry into this corner, because what happens after is another left straight after. So you don't want to go too far into the corner. You want to avoid the red curbs here. It's probably better if I just paused it, because it's quite a hard one to explain this. So a 2nd gear corner, you want to be at the point where you're not turning in too early. You want to be turning in essentially in a straight line here, this is the apex here, it's kind of not at an angle, it's kind of facing away from you. So if you turn in too early, all that's going to happen is you're going to go straight ahead towards the KW sign in the background here, or you're going to end up hitting this red curbing that's on the inside. And either way, that's going to lose you time. That's going to lose you at least 2 to 3 tenths on this corner alone. So you want to turn in quite late, and you want to hug the apex and let the car just kind of carry its speed through, and then you want to be on the exit mid-corner. Again, if you're going really left, you'll probably lose a bit of time, because what needs to happen next is you need to move over to the right hand side of the track towards this bit of curbing in order to make another 180 left degree corner. Again, the right hand side, you've got some black and white curbing striping, and that again is your braking point. Now what is important with this corner is it's very low grip. Even if you're on brand new tyres, okay, so you need to be careful here. You only need to apply a small amount of braking application. The reason for that is you've just come out of that right hand corner. You're not going to be carrying that much speed as it is anyway. So you can accelerate as you come out of it, but then you just want to tap the brake to bring it back down to the same kind of speed that you was doing in the previous corner. And you want to just let the car run into the middle of the track, and then you want to again hit the center of this apex. Again, like the previous corner before, the apex is around here, so it's facing away from you. So you want to turn in quite late in order to get a good run off. So I'm going backwards here so I can actually show it. So instead of hugging the corner instantly where they've got this nasty red curbing, you want to turn in quite late, because as soon as you come to the exit, it's quite narrow. So you want to be running wide, and if you're hitting the curbing on the right hand side now for this corner, then you're doing it correctly. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you that small segment at full speed for you. Okay, coming up to this corner, brake, second gear, let it turn in late. There's no gas application or except from up on the exit. Small tiny bit of brake, let the car speed run through, tyres are screeching, and again on the exit. That's how it is at full speed. That's kind of idea of what you want to be doing. Okay, you should be in third gear now for the next corner. Upon the exit of this one, you've got a long straight, and it's going down to Woodcote and Luffield. So it's basically full throttle, third or fourth gear depending. It's just basically max power, hit the apex, turning quite late, and then for this example we've run quite wide. You can tidy that up even more, and you should be basically dead on straight, full throttle down the back straight, and then you'll be coming up towards Luffield and the old pit straight. Okay, the braking point for this corner, this is quite tricky to master, this corner, because it doesn't like a lot of braking performance. And what I mean by that is you're going to be turning in pretty early, so therefore you just need to let the car naturally decelerate from its performance in order to make the turn in. If you brake too much, there's a chance that you're going to seize the tyres and you're just going to run wide into the barrier that lovely crane that's ahead of you. And if you brake too late, well, it's going to be the same result. So your braking point for this corner in the GT3 is just before you get to this white sign here, the arrow sign that's on the right hand side of the track. Depending on what car, again, it may differ very slightly, but this is a good baseline to judge it off. Just before the white sign, you want to be braking down from 6th by that time into 3rd gear. And what you want to do is stay away from the curbing, and as soon as you see this small, bollard, you want to be aiming for that. That is your turn-in reference. That is the apex for this corner. Okay, so if you're turning in too soon, if you're already hugging this curbing here, then you're losing a lot of time, because that's not the exit for the corner. This bollard is your reference. So as you're coming in, you're still turning towards to meet it, and you're just letting the car naturally decelerate. There you go, you're past the apex, and you can hear instantly that I've applied the throttle once again, and we're coming to the exit. Okay, so we're going to go back and see that at full speed, so you guys can know what exactly that feels like at full speed from where we brake. So we're coming down the first straight into Luffield, full throttle, braking, 1, 2, 3, gears down, and there we go. Okay, next corner, Luffield. This is going to be a third or second gear corner, depending on how you want to take it. It's entirely up to you, but you can do it either way. Second gear, if you're doing it for first time ever, probably the best option, because you'll be able to control the car more upon the exit. And third gear is it's more about optimal speed. Third gear is probably when you know what you're doing. Now for this corner, you want to go wide. There's a lot of wide corners in Silverstone, which makes it quite tricky and really challenging. So you want to stay mid-track upon the entry. You don't want to be hugging the apex again, because it's a 180 right, but it's a really wide right-hand corner we're talking about here. As you can see, as we're turning in, we're staying away from that curbing, and the reason for that is you've got a massive straight, which is the old pit straight, as the exit. And as we come to the exit here, that's when we've hugged the inside corner, the inside of the apex. And what we want is to get a really nice acceleration out of this corner, because if you do not, you're going to lose a lot of time. Acceleration out of this corner is really important. So now you can hear the revs are building. You can rev quite early here, and you've got a fair bit of runoff, but not so much because you've got gravel on the left hand side, and you don't want to touch that at all. And then you've got the exit here. So this is quite a nice corner. It's one of my favourites actually, but it can be challenging if you do not get it right. So we're going to go back now with the squeaky engine. Right, and here we go. Second gear. Tuck it in now, and then the throttle is applied. Nice exit onto the pit straight, or the old pit straight should I say. And you've got maximum potential out of that engine now compared to the rest of your opponents. Okay, so now comes Cop's corner, the old first corner. Braking point is the arrow, which just went past. This is your braking point on the left hand side. This is basically telling you, you need to brake right now, otherwise you're screwed. Okay, you're in 6th gear at this point. You can take 5th or 4th, depending again on your car and how much potential or speed you want to carry through. 4th gear is probably the best bet, again, because it gives you an idea of how much speed you are actually doing without having to let down at your speed dial. So, you do not need to have a lot of braking, but some is required. You just need to tap that brake ever so slightly. As you can see, the front car's dipping down there, but as soon as you come to the turn in there, so basically your braking point is between the arrow and around here. After that, you come off the brake. No more braking required. If you're doing it after, you're just going to hurt your time. So, we're in 4th gear. Turn in late. Once again, we love our late turn-ins at Silverstone. For this example, I've gone quite wide, but you can tidy that up. And you then accelerate as soon as you feel the car turn in. That's a bit of a rubbish explanation actually. I should probably do that a bit better. I'd say you need to accelerate about now. I mean, this is a bad example, but technically if you can just imagine my car, pick it up, put it right a tiny bit by about a foot, 2 foot to the right, you're going to be hugging this inside apex here. Okay, that's the ideal position you're going to be in. But you're going to be aiming this way. Make sense? So that's kind of the direction that you want to be heading, is when that curbing disappears. So you're going to be accelerating now in order to be able to aim for this curbing here. Okay? If you're aiming for this bit, you're going to go off and you're going to get a slowdown or lap invalidated result. So this is the kind of curbing that you want to aim for upon the exit. So we're accelerating, the car's turning in nicely. And there we go. Corner complete. Maggots and Beckets, the classic corners of Silverstone. Again, definitely some of my favourites. This is challenging. This will take time to master, but we're going to give you the basics. You're entering at 6th gear, because the last corner, Cop's corner, is pretty fast. So it's not going to take you long to get back up to speed. So, entering the corner, you can basically go full throttle here, up until you reach this point. You've just passed the red curbing on the left hand side here. As soon as you're past that, you're braking. You're not braking a lot though, you're just basically applying as much as you need in order to make the next corner, which is going to be 5th or 4th gear, again depending on what you want. So we've just gone into 5th there. You can actually ride the curb a lot here, it's not going to hurt you. As you can see, the green is quite flat along with this red strip here. If you're in LMP2 I wouldn't advise it, but we're in GT3 at the moment. You want to basically be aiming for this kind of entry point, that's your angle. If you follow the arrow or the mouse arrow, that's the kind of entry that you're going to want. Okay? We use quite a lot of curb, but luckily we didn't get a slowdown. And then you want to change to 4th. After that point, after you've done your initial braking, that's it, you can pretty much relax for a fair while. Bearing in mind this is going to be fast, so we're doing this in slow motion, so if you imagine this at super speed, you know, it is quite a challenging sector of corners. So you're going to be in 4th gear at this point, let the car just naturally decelerate. You're not going to need much acceleration because the next corner is going to be really, really tight left hand. So you see these bollards that are on the inside of the corner here? You want to stay hugging them. They are now your best friends, they are now your reference points for the next corner before you get on to that all-important straight line. You want to be mid-track when you get to the next corner, and that is going to be down change to 3rd gear. It's important to use your gears here. This will get you a lot of time. The engine needs to decelerate. If you do not, then you will just waste time. If you're not changing gear, well, let's just put it this way. The engine decelerating on its own is a lot better than using the brakes a lot. And what I mean by that is, if you're using the brakes, you're losing a lot more time than if you was to just simply change down gear, down from 4th to 3rd, and let the car just naturally decelerate on its own. So what you need to be aiming for again is the next bollard, your next best friend, and you want to basically hit him, or not hit him physically, but you want to hug right next to the track, right next to him, and accelerate as you come to the exit. The exit again is very important here because you're going to be coming on to a massive straight which leads up to the last part of the circuit, sector 3 that is. You can run the curb here, it will not spin you out, it's quite safe to do so. It will get you a fair bit of time before you're going out of sector 2, the white line on the strip there indicating that you have. You will now get a time, or a sector time. And that is it for that corner, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you see that in full speed because this is really fast part of the circuit and it is vital in order to get a good time. Right, so we've just come out of Copse Corner, the L pit straight, and we're entering at full speed 6th gear into Maggots and Beckett's. Down change, small bit of braking, turning in, let the car do its thing, 4th gear. 3rd gear, let the car decelerate, no braking whatsoever, the turn-in is made and you accelerate out into this main straight. That is the best you can do. That is a perfect line through Maggots and Beckett's, minus that bit wide cut onto the grass as I mentioned at the start of doing that sector of corners. Okay, so the next corner is going to be, I think it's called Vale, but I think I might be wrong on that. But it's going to be another braking point indicated by the white hand board. Now this isn't like the other corners where you brake just before or right on it. You can actually go a tiny bit beyond it. So what you need to do is as soon as you're past it, there's your braking point right here. So you can see the white board in the mirror there. So it's going to be literally at full speed, it's going to be a split second after you've passed it, okay? And that's going to be your braking point. Another late apex again. Lucky for you guys because I know you love them, and as you're coming in you want to change down to 3rd gear, so that's 4th there and 3rd. You're not going to hug the apex right away, again as I said it's a late apex. You want to be aiming for these red strips here. This is your indicator for mid corner, okay, this 1 and 2. Ignore the first one because that's not important. Okay, but you want to basically be holding that speed upon entry in 3rd gear until you can see this black and white curbing on the other side of the track. This has got quite a large runoff area. This is all tarmac. Don't use it all, otherwise you're going to get a slowdown. But you can pretty much be certain that you've got a bit of security upon the exit, so you can take the mick a bit if you want to be like that. So it's going to be a third gear corner, accelerating out onto the main straight, or not the main straight up rather, but down towards the next corner. And if you hit the apex, naturally, if you're on full throttle and you're hitting this curbing, then you're doing it right. Okay, so coming down to the last set of corners now before you get onto the pit straight, we're almost there. Okay, this curbing here, this is your braking point, the curbing on the right hand side. You do not need to brake before, you do not need to brake after. Either way it's going to be catastrophic. One, if you brake too early, the car behind you is going to rear end you and you're going to be flying off. Okay, in a 25-minute race for this Sunday, it's going to be catastrophic. In the 90 minutes of Silverstone, might not make such of an impact, but still, it's a bad day at the office. So, there we go, there's your braking point. You want to go down to second gear. You want to be changing gear late as well. If you're changing gear when the engine is revving at a low count, that means you're going to get more stability. And it means less chance of a lockup, less chance of a spin. Okay. Upon the exit of this corner, you're going to come across the next one, club corner, and that is going to be another second gear. Okay, but this is important. This is where it actually starts to get a bit tricky before you can get across that checkered flag line. Okay, this is quite a low grip here. You want to be in third gear. You want to change up early from second. So it's not going to be that easy. It's not just going to be full throttle, come and give it the beans. It's going to be, I need to be careful here. It's not going to let me do what I want to do with second gear. Okay, so you've just finished the club corner. You're turning in, hugging the apex still. There isn't a lot of throttle application here upon the exit. You can hear the engine starting to rev, and before it's even had a chance to build up fully, there's the third gear come in there. Okay, the reason for that is the curbing on the left hand side, this green patch. You can almost tell there's a slight bit of camber in the road here. Okay, that's what's going to cause you to spin if you just hit the beans full throttle. Alright, so it's better just to change up that slight bit early and slowly apply the throttle to make sure that you're going to be okay for the next corner. And this is the last corner. Third gear as you come into the corner, and you can almost get away with fourth upon the exit as you accelerate onto the main straight, and then you've completed a lap of Silverstone. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go back to the last set of corners again, let them go through really fast at full speed for you, and therefore you'll be able to get an idea of what you're doing. Alright. Right, okay. So we've just completed Maggots and Beckett's. You're coming up to the Vale and Club Corner and all the rest of it. These are the last Sector 3 corners. So these are important just as like the rest of them, and we're going to see what it's like in full speed for you. As you can see, the gear changes are quite low revving. You want to make sure that you're not overdoing the engine at all. Braking again. Low revs. There we are. That last corner there is full throttle. I should have mentioned that earlier. But that is a full lap of Silverstone, guys. I hope it's a lot better than what the other ones have been. If you have any further questions or concerns about a corner, if I haven't explained something correctly, then feel free to leave a comment on the video or get me a personal message on Raceroom forum or on here. I don't really mind which. But I hope it lets you understand the track more. I hope it gets you faster lap times on a regular basis, and I will see you either this Sunday for the 25-minute race, which is practice, or I will see you for the 90 minutes of Silverstone on the 26th of February. Okay, all the links are in the description, and we're going to go through another LMP2 lap, which is fairly similar, but if you're just interested in GT3, you can start watching the video here. Okay guys, here is the LMP2. We're taking the Chevrolet Daytona prototype around this track. It's very, very nice around here, though the braking performance isn't as good as some of the other options on this class. But if you're interested in taking this vehicle for this Sunday or the 90 minutes of Silverstone event, then this is the best way around the track, and I'll get you up to speed with the rest of the grid. Now, changing to the inboard camera, as we come down into Sector 3, you'll be able to take advantage of this. This is going to be at full speed as before we start the hot lap, and take you around with a full explanation of what's going on. Again, it's very similar kind of gears and speed as to what the GTR3 can do, but it's what the tiny details in the track that are going to be important for you. Okay, so again, you're going to be taking the 5th gear into the first corner. This is a very high speed for the LMP2. Obviously, naturally, you're going to have a lot more aero than the GT classes will. So it's a thing to bear in mind if you're trying to make a manoeuvre here. Personally, I wouldn't make any passes in this corner unless you're way alongside them by the time you get to their corner entry. Otherwise, it's just going to be like a wedge. It's going to be, you know, dummies out the pram. It's like a wedge of cheese. It starts wide, but it finishes small, you know, and it's just going to end in tears. So I wouldn't recommend making any manoeuvres here. But breaking point is going to be the tarmac. Again, we said in GT3 in the previous part of the video that this part of the circuit is for faster cars, and in which case you are driving one if you're taking this particular vehicle. So the tarmac on the left hand side is now your braking point. 5th gear as you come into the corner, change down to 4th, and that is a good reference again for your entry speed. As you can hear, the car's whining, and we're instantly accelerating again as the right hand side of the track starts to disappear away from us. And you should be mid-circuit upon the exit of turn 1. That is where you want to be, because the next left-hand corner is 5th gear, full speed, before you get into the tight right-hand corner. Okay, so we're going to take, what we're going to do is we're going to go through Sector 1 fully, and then I'll let you see it in full speed, and that'll be a lot better for you. Alright, so again, braking as you come alongside the left-hand curbing, down to 2nd gear. You don't want to hug the curbing too much. We've got a bit of tyre squeal here as we come into the corner. This late entry point is where you want to be. That is a perfect example of where you want to be looking and the angle that you want to be at for this kind of entry for this corner. You want to be mid-circuit upon the exit of turn 2. Okay, because the next corner, a bit sideways there, as you come into the next one left-hander. Tiny bit of brake again. As you come into this corner, you want to be aiming for the middle of the apex. Did we do it on this occasion? Ooh, we're cutting really close. You could probably brake a bit later or turn in a bit later even, but what you want to be aiming for is to be alongside this curbing on the right hand side before you get onto the main straight. Okay, this is again full throttle in the LMP2, no matter what type of vehicle you're going to be taking, and you want to hit the apex, the black curbing on the left hand side. Don't be greedy, because you want to be able to be on the straight. If you be greedy, you're going to end up wide on the right hand side here, and you could end up on the grass and be invalidating your lap, which nobody wants. Okay, so that is basically Sector 1 complete right there. So we're going to go back now and see it in full speed for you. There's the 4th gear to turn in, and the acceleration straight out. It's a really fast corner. 5th gear, full throttle still, and braking heavily down to 2nd gear. That turn in is vital as we come into the corner, and you got a bit sideways there. And you can just hear there's no acceleration during this. It's all just deceleration in those tight corners until you're confident enough that you're going to make that corner. Again, full throttle as we come onto the straight. Now the next part of the track is the old pit straight. And the braking point for the Chevrolet, you've got this horrible centre bar here in the middle of your windscreen, okay, and that is pretty much the same kind of visibility that you're going to get on race day if you choose this particular vehicle, but it can actually play a benefit. If you're the kind of person that likes to use the inside of your cockpit as a reference point, well, bingo, you've got one. This centre pillar is basically perfect for when making your judgment for going left hand. Okay, any left corner, you just use the centre bar as your reference. It's quite handy. Okay, like in the GT3 cars, this right hand, I need to go forward a bit because it's a centre bar. This board here, this left hand corner board, is your reference point. Okay, this basically tells you need to brake. Okay, but you're not braking alongside it. You're braking just before it on this occasion. As you can see, you instantly heard the brakes being applied there. We're just going to go through slow motion and then fast again. It's a third gear corner, the same as GTR3 for this case, but you're going to be carrying a fair bit more speed than any GT3 car could. Again, you're going to be wanting to aim for the bollard that was on the left hand side that's just disappeared, okay? And upon the exit you want to be around mid-circuit, because the next hand corner is the 180 before you get onto the straight. And this corner is fairly vital to getting a good decent speed down the straight, okay? So you don't want to be hugging this apex, you kind of want to be just as far away from it as you can, but not ridiculous, alright? And as it comes to the red curbings on the inside of the corner, that's when you want to be tucking it in, alright? And then accelerating, should be changing up to third any second now to get more traction. There we go. And you want to be aiming for the curbing to get a nice acceleration outside of that corner, and you're going to be then full throttle down the straight. Okay, the next corner, Copse Corner. Again, the right hand board on the left hand side, which is there right now, is your reference point. This is where you're going to need to brake, but just straight after it, okay? So it's going to be fourth gear for this corner. There we go, we're down into fourth gear. Come off the brakes now. You don't need them anymore, you're now turning in, otherwise it's going to hurt your time. Hugging the apex, and then accelerating out onto the left hand side of the track. It should just naturally want to go this direction, because that's where the speed is taking you. You just need to manage that and make sure that you're there by the time you reach it. Alright, it's going to be fourth gear up until the next set of corners, which is Maggots and Beckett's. Similar to the GT3, you're going to be staying off the left hand red curb, and you want to be in fifth gear for this. You probably won't get enough speed to get up to sixth because it's an LMP2. You're carrying a lot more speed than GT3s, so it's just going to be one gear down into fourth as you make this corner entry. That's your braking point there, where you heard the car just naturally progress down, and you want to be off the brakes at this point. This is where the car's doing its thing, okay? The car's turning in, you're influencing it, it doesn't need any more help. And now again, not using hardly any braking at all. The only time you use braking here is if you know you're going to go wide. You just want to hug this inside line here. This curbing on the left hand side and these bollards again are your best friends in the world right now. Okay, if you're coming off them and if you're going into the center of the track, that's when the only time you need to slowly apply the brakes very gently, otherwise you're just going to spin, okay? But you just want to hug this inside line. You're going to be in third gear at this point. You're coming up to the last part of the corner, okay, or the last corner of three, and you're going to be in third gear. The engine is naturally decelerating, you're not using any gas whatsoever, alright? And again, this red curbing on the inside line, again, are your best friends. This is your turning point. You want to hug the inside line here because that is essential to getting a good acceleration onto the main straight as you come towards the last sector 3 and you're accelerating full speed out of that set of corners into sector 3. You've now completed fully sector 2. So what we're going to do is going to go through that in full speed, and so you can get an idea of how fast it all feels. Okay, so this is sector 2 at full speed. Coming into Woodcote and Luffield, braking heavy, third gear before the board on the right hand side. Hug the apex, past the bollard into third gear, change down into second, go wide, tuck it in now, and then accelerate as you exit the corner. Very low traction there, so be easy on the gas as you come out onto the main, or the old pit straight rather. Okay, so you want to be full throttle here. The next corner is going to be Copse Corner, braking just after the board on the right hand side. Tuck it in and accelerate out of Copse Corner. Fifth gear as you come into Maggots and Beckett's. Stay off the curbing on the left hand side, or the red curbing, down one gear. Let the car naturally do its thing. No braking whatsoever, just hug the inside at all times. And then accelerating out onto the main straight, under the Silverstone side, up into sector 3. Sector 2 complete at full speed. Okay, so now we're coming up to the last sector of the corner, or of the track, and again this left hand board here is your reference point, but you are braking after this. It's going to be a split second, just like it was in the GT3 cars, after you pass this board that you want to start braking. If you want another reference, it's this green tarmac or this green curbing that's on the left hand side here. that's a reference point as well. That's not the start of your braking point, it's just in between that white board and this green piece of curbing. That's your braking point. So you want to be braking down heavy into third gear before you reach the corner itself. Okay, once you're in third gear, you want to be turning in. We're in fourth at the moment, but we've just changed now to third. Okay, so you want to be turning in. You're no longer applying the brake at this time. You're letting the car just decelerate on its own, and as you get to mid corner, which is about, I'd say here, which is where this last red curb is on the inside line for the LMP2. That's when you start to reapply the throttle, but you're not flooring it, you're just gently applying it. Tiny bits of throttle are being applied at this time until you get to the left hand side of the track, and then you are at full throttle once again. Okay, so it's only a gentle application. If you just whack on the throttle, you're just going to make the rear end slide out. Okay, so it's always gentle application. And then you come to the last set of corners. For this Chevrolet and LMP2, you're going to be carrying a lot more speed than a typical GT3 car once again, okay? And therefore you're going to be braking a tiny bit earlier. So my advice, if you're taking the Chevrolet or an LMP2, is using the white board on the right hand side of the track. That is now your braking point. You're going to be heavy on the brakes, down into second gear, but you want to be doing it at low revs. Notice my rev counter right there, okay? As we're changing down the gears. So we're in fourth. You can see that we're not redlining that rev counter, and the reason for that is stability. Right? You don't want to be at maximum revs, and as we get closer to the corner, in fact, the revs are getting lower and lower as we're changing down. Alright, so that's what you want. You need stability through this last sector of corners. And then you want to slowly apply throttle to make the next corner, but not a lot, because the next corner is going to be a very low grip indeed. You want to stay to the left hand side of the circuit before you get onto the last straight. Third gear, change up early, because you will end up spinning if you do not. And then that's when you apply full throttle as you come into the last corner. You want to hit that apex on the right hand side in order to get a good run onto the main straight. Okay, if you go wide here on the left, you're going to get a slowdown, so that's why you need to hug the inside line, and then it's across the finish line, and that is a full lap of Silverstone in LMP2. Right, we're going to go back now and see that in full speed for you. Okay, so we just completed Magnussen Beckett. It's coming up towards sector 3, and braking on the left hand side is your reference point down to third gear. Accelerating now mid corner in order to get a good drive out of that corner. Low revs on your down changes, second gear, turn in, hit that apex, stay off the red curbing, tiny bit of acceleration, and then early third, and then full throttle as you come on to the main straight and across the line at Silverstone. So I hope this helps you guys. That is a full lap completed of Silverstone in an LMP2 class, the Chevrolet for this specific vehicle. Join us this Sunday for a 25-minute race, or the 90 minutes of Spa, or the 90 minutes of Silverstone, whichever one you're going to be joining. I hope you do have fun, and this helps you get more competitive as you go around the circuit. If you do have any questions, then feel free to message me or leave a comment, and if it has helped you, then please do give us a like and subscribe to the channel. So thanks very much, and I will see you around.